This is a quick look at Gimp brushes and tags in Gimp 2.8. Gimp 2.8 brought in a facility for putting brushes into categories rather than having everything lumped together. And if we bring our brush dialog out, detach it, have a look like this. This is in Linux, by the way, but Windows is exactly the same. And the areas to look out for are these, top and bottom. And if we click on a brush, this one for example, nothing happens. But if I click on this one, well, it says it's tagged as basic. You can try some of the others, go through them. That's a texture, that's a splatter, that's a legacy, and the green pepper is very definitely a legacy. So we'll have a look at those. And what can we do with these tags? Well, if we click on that little arrow there, we bring up a selection, and I can select basic, and that will sort out just the basic brushes, or the ones with a basic tag, because you can add to these categories if we want to. We'll see in a minute. Try one of the others, say sketch, and there are just the sketch brushes. Click in there and delete that, and we get back to everything. Now then, taking one of my brushes that doesn't have a tag on, what can we do with this? Well, if I click in there at the bottom and type in basic, that's one of the categories we have, hit the enter key, fix it. So that one's tagged as basic, the next one along wasn't. Now if I go into basic category there, you can see, or you might be able to see, that it's been included. We'll do a more obvious one. There's a called a horizontal tear brush. It's one of my homemade brushes. Click in the bottom and type in basic, hit enter. Now if we look in the basic category, well, we've now got our horizontal tear brush included with all the other basic brushes. So that's that. Now then, how can we make it a little bit better? Well, this is my local Gimp 2.8 brushes folder with those personal brushes included. Now I've made a folder and I've called it Alt Default. You can call it anything you like, it doesn't matter. But I've called it Alt Default. This, again, it's Linux, it's a little bit different from Windows, but works just the same. You can select and drag files around. So I'm moving them from my usual home brushes folder to this subfolder, Alt Default. So the home folder is now empty and the Alt Default's full of Gimp brushes. Back to Gimp. If I go to here, if you see the bottom, the very first brush which I'd added to the basic group is now in two groups, Alt Default and basic. So are the other ones either in Alt Default, and indeed if I go into that little dialog there, Alt Default has just those brushes that are in that folder. Basic still has the horizontal tear in, but it's now categorized in two groups. And if I go there, we can have a combined one with just those two brushes in. Back to normal. I'm going to add yet another folder in brushes, and I'm going to call it ABR brush because this works just the same with Photoshop ABR brushes. There are two ABR brushes, and if I go back and start Gimp up, we see we've now got our usual brushes. There's the standard brushes, and we've still got our categories there. Legacy brush, sketch brush, but we now have a whole set of those combined Photoshop brushes where you have lots of brushes in one file. And indeed, if I go and select ABR brush, there they all are. Just to show you that they work, we'll put it something like normal. Remember, you've got to reset the size for a brush when you change it. That's enormous, so we'll make it smaller. There we are. One brush, one brush. And that's a quick look at tags in Gimp 2.8.